Yes, finally back after way too long. But there have been some updates. That's the B pillar where it joins the sill. We've tidied those up on both sides. That looks much better. Tidied up the joint at the top of the sill. There you go. That's the other side. Same treatment. Looks much nicer, and it's obviously much stronger. Stronger than factory, I reckon. But most of the work is actually underneath, so the floor to sill join. As you can see, these big holes cut out of it from the shortening process, and the seam itself has got quite a lot of rust in it. So I had to weld both sides end to end and then grind it back, give it a nice finish, nice strong finish. Also finished the plate on the underside, so from the B pillar to the sill strengthening tube. As I say, much stronger than factory now. And there you go, that's the sill to floor join. Looks much better, much tidier, much stronger. That took a while. But back to today. So yeah, it's 3 roofs, 1 Quattro time. This is definitely going to be the most challenging part of the project. As you know, I'm not doing it like most people do it. A little bit more complicated, unfortunately, the way I'm doing it, but needs must. So, roof number 2 on roof number 1. As you can see, it's seamless. Fits like a glove. Looks like it's meant to be there. But hey, that's not enough roofs. We need another one. So, roof number 3 on roof number 2. There you go. Scale of the problem. How to make those 3 roofs disappear into one. Where to start? Actually, no idea. Pretty much going to be making this up as we go, but as with any complex problem, or you just try and break it up into smaller, less complex problems. So, bit by bit. So firstly, if we look at the donor roof and where it's cut, obviously we can't cut any more out of the shell than we've got for the donor roof. So what I'm first going to do is transfer the equivalent of that cut onto the donor, and that tells me the maximum amount of metal that I can cut out if I cut it right up to there. I might shave that back to that line, I don't know yet, but at least if I transfer this line onto the shell, that gives me a guideline as to where the maximum amount of donor roof would go if I put it on just as is. So that's the first thing. As we know, or as you should know if you've watched the other videos, the B pillar, it's a 4-door, as you can tell, so it's no good. So for this B pillar, I should say, is no good as it is, but this section should be good enough to use to transplant. So I want to take this section out and keep it. The roof section's got to come off, and we're just keeping the inside rail. This bit will get cut off, that doesn't really matter. And then as for the shell, obviously all this is going to come off, all this. But again, I'm going to unpick and keep as much of the B pillar of the shell as I can, because this is really what I'm going to reform to make the B pillar of the Sport Quattro. So that'll be reused in some way. So that plus that somehow is going to make my B pillar. Now the problem I've got is I've still not got a pair of 2-door saloon doors. I need the saloon doors basically to set the rake of the windscreen, but what I have got is a pair of 4-door front doors, so at least this angle here will be correct. So I will put these doors onto the shell, and that will set this height. So with the door setting that height, and then the fiberglass GRP roof, hoping that when I put that on the back, that'll meet the front windscreen when this rake is set correctly. So that is the plan. I'm sure there'll be a lot of fiddling about, but just bit by bit. So I think first thing is, as I say, to transfer all the cut lines, and that's the cut lines as well, across in here and across under here to match what I've got as the donor, and then work out how far the other side of the line I'm going to cut it, because if we look at the donor, I can't use it in its entirety because the steering column support has been cut, and then all that's been cut. So my mate chopped me this, thanks Pete, out of the donor. So this is actually the first time I've seen what I've got. It's pretty good. So as regards this front piece, I'm probably going to end up cutting it somewhere through there and retaining as much of this as I can, and then just having this front scuttle and the A-pillars from the donor. But as I say, I want to transfer all the lines from this onto this. We'll see where we're at, then dismantle this and basically start cutting. So enough fucking waffling, let's get on with it. this is good in here. So if I can retain that, retain all the strength in that, it's really the only the surround that's rusty. Because obviously the windscreen, the whole windscreen rig's got to come out. So if we take that and retain as much of the shell as possible because it's solid. So I'm thinking remove this whole panel up to that cut line, up to that line there and round. But from the inside, all this is solid, and probably this line here, use this line as the guide and cut through that line, and that is the section, the whole section basically that I'll replace and retain all the rest, which is all good. So obviously the corresponding piece on this, I need to keep the whole frame, this whole scuttle down here, but not use this. So see, if we cut down along that seam all the way along, in all this bit, transfer all that. I'm thinking that's the best way to chop it, and we don't have to deal with this, and we don't have to deal with this. What I'm not sure about though is when we chop these or weld these A-pillars on, how I get to that and weld that. I can have to weld this and get to this and get to the outside. Well, how do you weld that bit? It's inside. So, I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure once we dismantle it, it'll become relatively clear, possibly. Right, no more faffing about. We're going to have this roof off and windscreen, A-pillars. This has to come off. We'll chop it here, we'll chop it there, we'll disconnect it from the B-pillar and take the stuff off that definitely needs to be taken off, down to here. And then I think that is the cut that I'm going to do. But yeah, it's difficult to get in with all this on, so fuck it. Let's cut the roof off. What could possibly go wrong? So, we have a convertible. Or is it a convertible? Targa top, convertible, whatever it is. Yeah, it now needs a shitloads of work. But, we can now see where we're at. We can get to what we need. And we'll work it out from here. Nasty, nasty hole. Anyway, it won't be there. So, starting point. Anyway, enough for this video, I think. At least you can tell I'm still alive and we're progressing, and I've now got a convertible. So, yeah, check you later. Cheers.